Okay, so this is just another really quick video, useful for anybody studying Henry VIII and his ministers for GCSE, and it's all about the Field of the Cloth of Gold, and I'll try and keep it under 5 minutes. Again, a quick 5-minute blast on Field of the Cloth of Gold, and we'll try and deal with what it was, who was involved, where did it take place, etc. So the Field of the Cloth of Gold took place in 1520, 2 years after the Treaty of London, and it took place in a little place just outside of Calais in France. So Henry VIII brings himself and his royal entourage over to France. What was it? Well, it's called the Field of the Cloth of Gold because it took place over a wide expanse of landscape and involved basically a huge kind of carnival, like a huge camp. Imagine like a kind of amazing Glastonbury with all of these tents everywhere and all of these sort of events going on. So it's called the Cloth of Gold because the French themselves brought around 300 tents, and these tents were woven out of fabric, and into that fabric was actually very fine gold threads, which made the tents themselves shimmer with gold in the sunlight as it rose, as it set, and throughout the day. I mean, what an amazing spectacle the Field of the Cloth of Gold must have looked. So the Cloth of Gold refers to the cloth that was used for the tents of the French king and the French kingdom. So why was it organised? Well, in 1520, Henry VIII is really trying to make his way in Europe, to make his mark as a king. And also as part of that, he's trying to forge alliances with the various leaders of Europe. The Field of the Cloth of Gold, taking place in Calais in France, was Henry VIII's way of forming an alliance with the King of France, Francis I, with forming an alliance between the English kingdom and the French kingdom. A very important thing to do, considering the amount of conflict that had happened between those two countries over the years and would continue to happen. So in 1520 they get together and they throw this huge party, in a way, a party in France called the Field of the Cloth of Gold. And what does it involve? Well, it involves really interesting spectacles like jousting, sword fighting, archery contests, and so on, which were fought between the French noblemen and the English noblemen. Nobody's getting hurt. This is just friendly rivalry, a friendly competition to display the power and the wealth of both kingdoms. What's really important is that it took place in a really specific part of the French landscape, which was in a valley, so that at no point was either king higher than the other one. This whole episode, this whole Field of the Cloth of Gold was symbolic. It was a symbolic gesture to show the power of Henry VIII, the power of Francis I, and most importantly to show the friendship between the two countries that could be created. This was an attempt to show the world, to show Europe, the alliance between France and England and the power of both kings working together. It is said that there was a huge fountain involved at the Field of the Cloth of Gold, and that this fountain itself poured wine from its fountains, and also that Henry VIII and Francis I themselves engaged in a kind of wrestling match with each other, and unfortunately Henry VIII lost. So the Field of the Cloth of Gold, 1520, and a massive elaborate display of wealth, of power, of prestige held in France between Henry VIII, King of England, Francis I, King of France, intended to increase their alliance with one another and to show their joint power to the rest of Europe as a way of increasing Henry's power as a king in England in the early part of his reign. Important for us because, of course, yet again, Cardinal Wolsey is involved in the organisation of this event. An event like this takes a lot of organising, and Wolsey was able to bring it all together using his expertise, and so therefore increase his power with the king. So Field of the Cloth of Gold, you're not necessarily going to need to know every single detail about it, but hopefully we've got enough from this quick video to understand why it was so significant.